I want to remind you of Jesus' promise that is still true. I will not leave you as orphans, he said. I will come to you. John 14, verse 18. Welcome to our third table today. Who is at your table? The Spirit's challenge to our comfort. You are welcome to pause this recording and read Luke 14, verse 1 to 14, where Jesus teaches on humility and hospitality at a Pharisee's dinner. When Christ calls a man, he calls a man to come and die. And I suppose the same is true for a woman. These are the powerful words of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German theologian during World War II. He is known for his courageous resistance against Hitler, which ultimately led to his death. He was accused of opposing Hitler and executed just days before the end of the war. But Bonhoeffer's words obviously spoke of something more profound than political resistance. He spoke of dying to our human nature as we surrender to God's Spirit. A process of gradual transformation into Christ-likeness. In his book, Life Together, he describes how self-centeredness can undermine genuine connection between people and even within faith communities. In his study of human nature, he observes how people instinctively position themselves in relation to others. When meeting someone for the first time, he explains, you immediately weigh yourself against that person. Within the first few moments, you decide whether you are their inferior, their superior, or their equal. You judge their social status against that of your own. And you determine whether you feel comfortable with them or feel a bit challenged. This instant assessment, of which you are mostly unaware, shapes the relationship going forward, and it has the potential to block genuine love and acceptance. This is a natural tendency. Bonhoeffer suggests that what springs from this tendency is potentially pride, arrogance, insecurity, inferiority, superiority, and all kinds of attitudes that prevent us from truly meeting others as Christ meets them. Bonhoeffer's goal with his study of human nature, or also known as theological anthropology, was simple: to expose our natural tendencies so that we can recognize them and instead pursue the mindset of Christ himself. This reminds me of Paul's teaching on what he calls the desires of the flesh, as we find it in Galatians 5:16 to 17. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. It is precisely this human tendency that Jesus confronts in Luke 14. Picture the scene. Jesus is dining with a prominent Pharisee on the Sabbath day. He observes in silence how self-assured and comfortable these religious leaders are in their convictions about life and status. They carry themselves with an air of spiritual superiority, convinced that their meticulous observance of religious laws and their social prominence make them inherently more worthy than the common people around them. And Jesus challenges this with a direct question. May one heal someone on the Sabbath day? He asks. And before they can respond, Jesus draws near a man suffering from dropsy and heals him right there before their eyes. Well, I had to research dropsy, and it seems nowadays it's more commonly called edema or oedema, which is a condition where fluid retention builds up in the tissue of one's body. Interestingly, according to biblical commentaries, dropsy appears to have been a condition as we know it today, where amounts of fluid causing legs to swell, ankles to swell, feet, often the abdomen become painfully swollen and bloated. But what commentaries suggest is that Luke, being a physician himself, uses this physical condition to refer to something else. And this specific commentary says that no matter how much someone drank, their thirst was never satisfied. In biblical times, this disease was commonly used, to symbolically represent someone suffering from greed, ambition, gluttony, or desire for comfort. I found that very interesting. Your thirst for possessions, for status, for comfort is just never satisfied. There's always the need for more. Luke uses this disease as a pointed reference to the Pharisees. These Pharisees who were consumed with honor and with prestige, with consistently placing position above God himself. A deliberate critique of individuals who constantly prioritize their interests above those of others. After the healing that we have read about in Luke 14, Jesus wasn't done making people uncomfortable. He launched into 3 challenges that cut straight to the heart of how people operate. Let us compare these challenges with our own experience of humankind. The first challenge is humility over ambition. Also to say, skip the VIP rope and head straight for the cheap seats. Your ego might protest, but your character will thank you when you choose humility over ambition. The second challenge, generosity without expectation. Stop treating kindness like a business transaction. Your good deeds aren't meant to come with receipts. And the third challenge that Jesus challenges the Pharisees at the table is on radical hospitality. Jesus essentially challenges them to host dinner parties that would shock their social circle. Invite the outcasts, he suggests. Watch your fancy friends clutch their pearls. The powerful truth that Jesus reveals is that inviting the unwanted, inviting them to your table, is equal to welcome God as your guest. After all, God invites people to his table. He invites you, he invites me, and we are sinners. Who among us could ever repay God for this favor or could ever earn an invitation to his table? We will never be able to match his generosity or give back even a fraction of what he has given us. He's still giving us. Freely we receive, freely we give. That is the message that Jesus tries to convey to his hosts at the table. This is the gospel lived out practically. This is what it means to challenge our comforts, to die to the self and live for Christ. So, how do we put this into practice? Jesus calls us to get acquainted with the unknown, to bring strangers to the table of the Lord, to help the sick and the needy, to encourage them with God's love and comfort, to make peace where there is conflict, and to care for the hardened hearts with love. Do these things without selfish ambition. Do them in humility. Do them as if Christ himself is inviting these people to his table, and you are just the message bearer delivering the invitation. Do them by surrendering to the power of the Holy Spirit. Break the barriers. Bonhoeffer understood that following Jesus means to live with a constant awareness of our natural, sinful tendencies. The Holy Spirit wants to do two things in us. First, make us aware of our human nature, and then keep us aware as we live through every day. Our instinct to position ourselves above others and measure our worth through comparison. Second, he wants to systematically lead us to discover and embrace the way of Christ. First, an awareness, and second, an intent and an openness for him to lead us. Through the Spirit's gentle transformation, we learn radical humility and hospitality, welcoming the unwanted, serving without expecting in return, and fighting true life through death to self. This is the way of Christ. This is where real life begins. Remember to do your daily examen later this evening, answering on the 3 questions in your booklet, and end your day with the Pentecost prayer that you will also find in your booklet.